This is our first session, right? For this year.
Yes, 2025 has arrived. Hopefully, we always have this. We want to confirm that people can see us. So, yep, I think we're.
There's some delay. Yep.
Okay. Great.
Right.
Welcome everybody. It's nice to see you again. Whoever's on the line and can hear us, see us. So maybe you're looking at the recording right now. It's we kind of missed these events. It seems like it's been ages, and it hasn't been. But
yeah, remember what we defined as updates. You can pretty easily see that even from the time that we announced the session today, which was I think something like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
we already have additional updates and some surprises. Nice surprises as always. But yeah, it's our first event for this year, and we are very happy to start even a bit late. And yeah, as usual, we'll go through the updates. We'll try to be as much as respectful to everybody's time. So let's not waste more time.
Yeah, let's start. We have a bunch of updates. The last time we spoke was on Ignite, after Ignite. So I think we'll focus on the more meaningful things that have been accumulated, and then we have our usual continuation of the work that we've been doing and trying to share that experience with getting AI into a sort of a big organization.
Yep. So yeah, today's session will be for let's say the one of our WAS session in the AI adoption framework, where we discussed adopt and scale once we have all the previous stages. But let's jump to the updates immediately. Okay. Starting with maybe the biggest, how to say, disruptor in the AI field, if we can say it that way. It was the DeepSeek R1. It actually had a huge impact even on the stock exchange, because these guys brought a pretty solid model with and the best thing was that they shared absolutely everything. They shared let's say the secret how they done it to be so competitive, and even that they mentioned that they spent not much money in the training. Please don't take this as this is not true. Let's say the calculation is not right. We should compare apples to apples. But yeah, the model was really great, and the biggest thing in our point of view is that actually the guys, this was huge contribution to open source models. So, and actually SpinUp providing the way how they train the model, and all of this reasoning part, which is completely open, something which is not true for OpenAI, is not true for the other models. Because they really don't want to share the, let's say, the secret configuration, how the models reasons, etc. Everything behind it. Actually, this model and this model was the biggest contribution to the open source community so far, I would say.
Yep, and I think because we've spent a bunch of time over the past couple of weeks, it's been almost a month since the announcement was made, and the model has been widely available. We are looking at this from our perspective as sort of a big organization deployment, or how to use this at scale, because this is where you can actually make, or you can spare some money, compared to the other serverless APIs and big companies that are providing models. So DeepSeek has opened the door for other smaller companies, and it will make it did a great contribution to the overall open source arena, which forces the big market competition. And as you can see, OpenAI has responded almost immediately with O3 Mini. And although we didn't think that it was ready, I think they were forced into publishing something, so their investors will calm down a bit. But for us, it's great, because we've been using DeepSeek in some of our tools, and We just have to see how people can actually leverage it in a real world scenario, because I think that's what's currently lacking. Azure had just announced its pricing for DeepSeek R1, which is fairly, market-wise, I think it can be used in a big organization.
Yeah, it's just to add that at the beginning, DeepSeek brought this their API, which surprisingly didn't have any throttling. This was another crazy thing about this, and people start using it immediately. To be honest, I throw immediately some money because I thought that this would at some point it would be closed or so.
Right.
But keep in mind that when you're using directly, the data goes through China, which is something that I guess a lot of large organizations don't want for their specific set of data. And as Nikki mentioned, immediately there were some companies like Together AI. There were also a few others large vendors promote the inference offering for DeepSeek, the full model. 671 parameters, if I'm not mistaken. Billion parameters, yep. And usually DeepSeek the offering was $2 something, and they were heading about $7-8. And as Nikki mentioned, we discussed just before the the meeting. He got the news yesterday that actually the price will be around $5. So this is
fairly competitive, yeah.
I think very competitive, because this is at the end you will have a capable model running in Azure.
Yeah, and what we saw, I mean, there's so many things around DeepSeek. We can probably do a session on this, but from our experience and just working across multiple use cases, DeepSeek has a very unique capabilities when it comes to Chinese, obviously, because it's been trained on a lot of kind of Chinese information. So given the big market there, a lot of other companies and institutions will probably prefer DeepSeek just because of its upper hand when it comes to working with the Chinese language and its application. So we welcome competition because this is better for everyone.
Yeah, of course, especially the open source. I mean, I think everybody loves competition.
Yeah.
Except
except the people who don't make enough money.
Yeah. By the way, anyway. So there were also something interesting, which makes it even better. But they were able to distill some of the smaller models and put this secret sausage on them. So I think that now you can have 7 billion, 14 billion, 32 billion, 70 billion parameters models, respectively Llama 3.3, Qwen 2.5 in the different version 14 and 32 billions. So you can have this distilled model, which was of course not that capable as the full-fledged DeepSeek R1 model, but actually they were able to, let's say, improve and make this small model with this new reasoning capabilities right now.
Right.
We tested 32 billion models, 14 billion models, and I also tested the 71, and we played a bit. So really, again, big contribution to the open source community, right? Depending on the task that you need. For coding purposes, based on our, let's say, we use it a lot for coding purposes. This is one of the most popular use case, of course. We still prefer Claude, to be honest. This is really, I'm not sure what this guy has done, but it's absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, with the resources that they had to have such a capable model in the coding, it's and to be competitive with everything that comes new. The pattern that you see, people always jump, try something new, and then return to Claude. It's
Claude is very special. Even now, after almost, I don't know, 8 months since it was announced.
I think they updated it. Maybe we'll have more
in the summer. Yeah, there was a new version. Yeah, but a very small increment.
But it's really, they've done a great job. Let's say that way. Talking about the great jobs, I think recently we got some really positive feedback of the newest model from XAI. Remember, this is
Recently, just a few days ago.
just a few days ago. Yeah, they dropped their Grok 3 model, and we tested a bit, tested even some of the functionality, which we'll go a bit later, some of the new functionality, but it's crazy good. I mean, it's this is very very surprising. To be honest, I was a bit skeptic, even that I'm a big fan of Elon Musk and everything that he's doing. I was a big skeptic because I know that
they were behind in the
they're behind. They're the newest company in the
Yep.
you know in the whole ecosystem. But what we discussed with Nikki this morning, it looks like that when you put this amount of GPUs, because I think they have the biggest, let's say, dense
single data
GPUs,
center.
single data center.
Yeah.
It was with 200,000, 100,000, or and they plan to scale it to 200, and then he recently said that it would be 1 million in the same data center. I think it's crazy for this amount of time to be head to head with the top models.
There are a couple of videos on the internet for people who have been invited to see the data center, how it was created, what kind of.
And for the amount of time was
I
absolutely
think we
crazy.
talked about it before
it was.
Ignite because it was very, very interesting.
Yeah, but this is the, how to say, the result of hard work, and we can clearly say that
And belief, because they spend so much money to purchase all of this hardware.
Yeah, that's true. But it looks like that they are head to head now with the big competitors, and the feedback so far, it's very good for a lot of use cases for coding, creativity. Grok is a little bit more, how to say, more free, if I can say, in terms of providing results. It's not that.
It's still not an enterprise offering, like something you can use in.
They still don't provide the API at the end.
It's more of a. I still feel it's more of a proof of concept to them, like to show what they can do.
But it's more like B2C.
Yeah.
But that's not bad. I mean,
they're pushing the frontier for sure.
They're doing very well. Talking about this, by the way, OpenAI also released O3 as we expected. Actually, it was, as you said, it was a response to the DeepSeek R1. They released just O3 Mini and O3 High. The models are pretty capable. The pricing is fairly good, I would say.
It's better than GPT-4o. Per token,
which is crazy, and the result is keep in mind that this is a reasoning models. All of these are reasoning models, not like GPT-4o. But it's so far it's very good at planning, task, etc. Our experience is that it's really for planning is pretty sufficient. And another, I think one of the very important shift in general from the AI vendors is providing all of this tooling around the models and the ability the models to use some specific tooling. And as a tool which stands out, I think the deep research is really crazy addition in all the vendors. So OpenAI announced it first, and then they were followed by Perplexity, by there was
Gemini.
open source Gemini. There's multiple. Actually, Grok have it right now. I don't think Quad have it at the moment. They have other option of the computer operator, anyway. Deep research is providing this functionality, saves a lot of time for anything. It can plan your trip, it can provide you with some good information when you plan to buy something or to gather additional information, to do some due diligences, etc. It can provide you really solid comparison between the different options.
Do you think, because this is probably interesting for the audience, do you think the options that you get with the Pro version, the Pro license of OpenAI Do you think it's worth the money right now? You know, the $200.
I mean, I think it's worth it, mainly because this O1 Pro model is it's very good for some specific tasks,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think it's really good. Still, these models are not capable. So O1 family is not capable to use this tooling. I
Yeah.
guess they'll. I'm not sure that they'll invest time to make it.
Mhm.
Not sure how hard it. But O1 Pro is still,
Yeah.
I think it's still very, I can't wait to have the O3 Pro
Yeah.
model, to be honest.
By the way, the life cycle of the O1 family will end middle of this year. So I think they're gonna introduce the new set of models very
I
soon.
think they, yeah, some talked about this. He mentioned that actually there will be GPT-4 4.5 model, which would
Mhm.
be the successor of 4.0, so it will not reasoning model. I think he mentioned that this would be the last non-reasoning model, and then
Right.
GPT-5 would combine everything
Yeah.
that they've done so far.
Singularity.
And they said that the pricing tier would be that you just have actually nothing new. The free version is using some amount of intelligence. Next year would use more, and the pro tier would be
Yeah.
using the highest amount of intelligence, which could be like test time,
Yeah, I
compute,
think for
etc.
this year, we'll probably, once we finish with the adoption framework series, I think we will do a session to talk about choosing the right tiers of these subscription models and what value they can provide, because this will become a more important sort of topic. Like if you feel confident enough and you want to be empowered, it's probably worth to get the bigger and better models so you can make money out of it, or you can, optimize your work. But we talk about this in a sort of a later date.
Yeah, it's again, there's no one solution fit.
Sure.
Yeah, fit all. So definitely, O1 Pro is yeah. We'll discuss this at later
Kind
point.
of the high-end usage of models.
Yeah, one important thing is that actually with Pro subscription we have 128K context, which is
Yeah.
I think it's same for enterprise,
Mhm.
but this is very important for again for some
And
specific work.
16K for output, which is great.
Yeah. By the way, it's talking about the context. There were some good advancement in that direction as well. There were Qwen 2.5 released as well.
Qwen.
Chuan, sorry. Good point, Chuan. By the way, thanks to friends of Nikki from China, the right pronunciation of Quen
Yeah,
is
they're very
Chuan.
particular in the way
Chuan,
they
Nikki, you may
pronounce
say
it.
a few words wisely. I think this would be important and interesting.
Uh, for the pronunciation,
Yeah,
or
I think Chu was energy, and when
I don't remember
oh, okay.
the translation, but the funny what he's laughing about is I was explaining how we were intrigued by these models, and I said Qwen, and the guys just said what? They didn't understand what I was talking about, so they ended up explaining how this is being pronounced in Chinese, actually.
But okay, this would be for homework for
Yeah,
next time
for
to say
another
why
day,
it's
yeah.
Chuan. Yeah, very good work from the guys. I think also DeepSeek they also announced some video models, but to be honest, we weren't much in this. Didn't have time to test it. Back to our own continent, we have so there were a lot of jokes in the space that Europe is falling behind, which fortunately is the case. But still, we have one company which stands out. Our friends from Mistral, they were able to create this new. So they announced some new models, but they jumped in with a brand new Luchat application, which became on first place, I think, in the both App Store and Android Play marketplaces in terms of productivity for Europe. And the good thing is it's free. The biggest limitations, what I see as the biggest limitation, by the way, of all these free tiers is the context window. This is something, but for everyday use, it's great. So if you're part of Europe, I think you should give it a try, even if you're not. If you're French, I'm sure that you already use it a lot. because there were some jokes actually. My favorite one, people are joking like, will chat repeat after me, roses are red, skies is blue. French can't make croissants. And it said, French make the best croissants. So you can see it's French.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Mistral because I remember a year and a half.
Fortunate.
Well, I'm saying this because
Because they're born in Europe. Okay.
because they created and remember historically they were one of the first kind of popularize the mixture of experts approach to models and how that really
Open
changed.
source models.
Yeah, but they have such a big competition coming from China and from the US and Europe for whatever reason. If I was sort of running Europe, I would invest money into this
Earlier.
company. Yeah, because just to make this, just to push them ahead, because they're one of the few that actually stand out from coming from.
I don't think there's anyone else, to be honest, on that level. But yeah, absolutely agree on that. I think it's, I think this came a bit late, but it's better late than never.
I think they're falling behind just because they cannot compete with.
For Mistral, we were discussing multiple times with Nikki and other folks in the field that it's been quiet time. You know, they were silent for quite time.
Yeah, they're very, very
but
weird.
At the same time, they're French. But at the same time, they have opening position. The company grows. They also gather additional fundings. And recently, the most important thing that they had the full support of their government.
The French government.
So and we think that actually the French government was talking about Europe was the fastest one in realizing how important is this. We can say a few words about the AI summit, which happened in Europe, talking about this. Europe finally realized how important it is to limit the regulation. So they promised that they will try, let's say that way, to limit the regulation and to allow innovation to speed up, because they really fell behind US and China, which so in China there is no regulation. They were another model and company which recently provide new models with full support of Chinese government. And so Chinese government, the entire country invests a lot. I think this is the thing that they invest most of their resources, and in order to have any chance with that, you have to have some responses in that. So Europe announced that they'll put some, I think, 200 billion investment in this. A bit skeptical, but we are happy that at least there's something in that direction. Again, I think that France would be leading that direction, mainly because it looks like that Macron is more, how to say, more optimistic, more innovative than the other EU leaders.
I think that's great, but you saw how, I mean, the arms race is between China and the US, and really they are focusing on what's currently limiting AI, which is energy. And Europe has made a deal to cut energy.
But again, that's the great thing. On this AI summit, by the way, there is important thing. It's called previously AI safety. So this is a good insight that now the name is different.
Yeah.
You already can feel that there will be
the mood is changing.
There will be some acceleration. But what I love really the most on this event is what Macron said about his friend on the other side of ocean, which usually say drill baby drill. And he said that pluck baby pluck. So he explained that they don't have to drill. They have all the nuclear power plant, and they just have to plug them. So you're absolutely right for countries like Germany and a lot of other European countries. But happily, France is. I don't think that they close any of their nuclear power plants. So let's say they have some good foundation to make it happen. But we'll see. By the way, I don't know, but the French region of Asia is not the region which will expand for hosting AI models to be Sweden. So let's see. Same time, in US, after the election happening, you can clearly see that these guys are accelerating to its maximum. Just our point of view, we are very optimistic for everybody in the States. They have really they realize the importance of putting the right people in the innovation. They have David Sachs as AI Tsar, which is well-known guy from the IT fields, investor in, I mean, in a lot of things. All of the advisors and the government was built really well prepared for what's coming for the future. This is our point of view. I don't think there's other government with China for sure, because China guys, it was like that. They're investing also. They bet on top. Everybody's betting on.
They've been doing this for
a long
not from
time.
yesterday. Yeah.
They were, by the way, last thing in that non-technical. It's kind of technical discussion, but there were some study of the the current energy capabilities where the different countries are, and unfortunately, China was leading in that direction. They put a lot of investment but keep in mind that Microsoft done this investment in the nuclear power plant. We know that OpenAI investing a lot in the nuclear fusion. So this can
Google, AWS.
I think everybody is investing in the energy. And by the way, Tesla latest results are that the energy business become like multiple times bigger. So yeah. I think one. So we didn't discuss about this operator or release functionality where you have you can provide task to GPT-4o. It's called GPT-4o with tasks. I think it's still only for the pro subscribers. I didn't check if the free.
I have it on Plus, I think.
On Plus
for task,
for task. Okay. So it's what it's doing is create private browser, and actually can do some task for you. It's still not perfect, of course, but it's something in the right direction.
It seems very alpha to me. I've tested it out, and it didn't work that well, to be honest.
We've been using one open source tool. It's called Browser Use. It's to be honest, it's much more capable. But this organization is funded by serious people behind, so not surprises at all. And I think there were a lot of updates, other updates that we may not be able to cover today, especially in the AI world. They're coming in batches.
We need to do a daily show, not a monthly show.
I'll citate again the Mitko Vasilev when he said that I can forecast only 2 days, not more. So after 2 days,
shout out to Mitko. It's great.
Yep. Yesterday, by the way, we had a internal session with my team members and do presentations, and one of our friends shows about some new model in Hugging Face, and he said, you see, this is from someone, Georgi Gerganov. That was what. Anyway. All right. So moving back to the, I think this would be last main topic, and next time we'll do just something which will cover more like governance perspective in general, some best practices that we can advise, and this will conclude on a high level the AI adoption framework series. But today we'll discuss about the adopt and scale phase, which comes after our preparation, having the data, the appropriate landing zones in place, and time to, as Macron said, to plug in our application in the what we.
You really like the news about it.
It's funny because I like that he said one very good friend of mine. So I like that.
We need to play with the big boys now.
again, I'm a big fan of France. I think they did very good job with the in general geopolitical
We like
moves
France
in,
for
in
multiple reasons. Be honest.
Okay, yeah, that's true as well. Uh, but yeah, even on the AI field, they are doing great, and they have great people as well in
Right.
the AI field. So yeah, we'll just quick recap what we covered so far. So we've been discussing about leadership alignment. This was our first session. The importance, no differences in. Actually, the only one differences with the cloud adoption frameworks is that much easier to convenience leaders in nowadays, so less time to spend on this specific but foundational phase. Then we move to the biggest difference comparing in our point of view with the other with the cloud adoption framework, which is such a like a very how to say foundational and mature thing in terms of the important digital transformation. The biggest difference here in the AI transformation is the creation of AI Center of Excellence in this early stage. Once you have the support, which differs with a lot of people opinion, which never do the cloud adoptions anyway. But yeah, that's the having the expertise as early as possible will save you a lot of money, time, and prevents you to do a lot of mistakes. Because this time it's required very solid evaluation of the use cases because as discussed multiple times, we think there is we don't believe that there's use case which AI can help. Comparing with, for example, the cloud adoption, there's a lot of use cases which are not suitable for cloud adoption. Then we discussed about the strategy development. Again, not much differences than the cloud adoption. We really need a clear roadmap with measurable KPIs, etc., and goals that that in order to see how we are moving forward where we are. Of course, the planning phase, similar to cloud adoption framework, no much differences in general to plan actually this strategy execution, how to do it. We discussed about the AI competency and culture development. This is something really important, pretty similar, I would say, to the cloud adoption framework with all of these new roles. The importance of having these champions, of having these internal trainings, having all of these sparking the curiosity in the people.
Positive mindset towards AI.
Yeah. To how to say, to motivate people curiosity of how AI can help them. At the end, last session we discussed the prepare phase where we will actually start building your stuff, distilling, filtering, aggregating. So it was more focused on the data part and landing zone, building appropriate landing zone. And yeah, now it's time to plug in again, to repeat myself. There is one thing which I don't think we discuss much, but would like to start with this, with the difference between Gen AI and classic ML deep learning AI. So what we see is that actually people still miss the main differences between the two. And we believe that actually the main differences is the affordability, if we can say that way, because right now with these foundational models, which are which can do a lot of things, companies can start using it much easier. So the level of adoption is much higher, if we can say that way. It's much easier to adopt them and start using it for your specific use case, comparable to the AI/ML. So when you do this, when we say this AI adoption, it's more like for Gen AI adoption. It's not that focused on the classic one. So here in the adopt and scale phase, really all of these landing zones that were prepared in the previous phases, they're more focused on the Gen AI stuff. and you can plug in much easier your application, your solution, your processes, because these foundational models you can fine tune much easier, and of course you can feed them with data much easier with your specific data. It's important to say it here that the large cloud vendors, they didn't create totally separate, let's say, Gen AI adoption framework, but they provided some very important additions to their cloud adoption framework, which is oriented to appropriate Gen AI adoption.
Yeah.
They provided documentation in terms of how to build landing zones, following the best practices. You know, as something new, this will develop constantly. And they provided also well-architected frameworks which are focused on these Gen AI capabilities. So it's really important when you do such a thing to follow this documentation and to adapt it to your specific use case.
Yeah, and now it's much more
much easier.
I would say the documentation is much more kind of optimized. It's built on experience rather than just theoretical ways of approaching the problem. And for each of the vendors, they already have. And when you said Gen AI is a bit different because it's closer to people in a sense, I think what's happening and what I can see sort of on a daily basis is because now they have so many eyes on Gen AI because of everything that's going on. Actually, machine learning is also being put in as well because the need for fine tuning of models, the kind of the visibility of what even classic machine learning can do for you to solve your problems has much more attention. And I think in general there will be what's going to happen is we will have much more engineers and people that do AI in general, focusing on specific subsets of AI, not just generative AI, but other areas as well. We've seen how many new businesses have just sprung up in terms of securing AI, managing AI, governing, and whatever. I think this gets a lot more exposure. So, and we've spoke about this, how infrastructure will change, the deployment of infrastructure, the infrastructure pieces will change because of machine learning and Gen AI and what it can do for us.
You brought something important with all of this pooling, as you say. Actually, the organization realized that if they, let's say, abstract the complexity level of, as you said, this machine learning, deep learning, classic AI stuff, they will have much better adoption. And they already experienced that from Gen AI stuff. So that's the reason why we see AI Foundry in Asia. We see the Google AI Studio to be on such a
SageMaker and
to be honest, I didn't check the AWS, but I know that Google AI Studio it's really, you can do a lot of complex tasks like you described in the past, which were only for proper.
You have to have the knowledge, the understanding of this. Now
you can use it very easy. You can train, fine-tune models really easy. So I think with all of these that you said, the pooling, actually this is the result of making of the effort, which makes everything easy to use by this how to say cloud native AI development ideas.
Even the tools themselves have AI to make them easier for people.
Indeed.
You have a chatbot beside your interface. You can ask questions, so you can create the stuff for you. So it's like an inception to AI. So
Indeed.
The way from what I can see, there's so many new positions for AI engineers, quote unquote, and people don't really define what this is. I mean, it's really up to interpretation what an AI engineer is for different companies. But at least there's an effort in pulling more people into the into this energy, right? And because there's so much investment in this still.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving to the actual plugin process, once we have the entire infrastructure in place, we have to, in order to scale it, we have to, let's say, do this abstraction in order to do the pooling phase. So really depending on what we plan to do, what are our use cases in the organization, we can choose between multiple deployment patterns, if we can say that way. So we can have some more centralized way of doing, let's say, serving these capabilities to our organization, or we can have this decentralized way of providing these capabilities and create a specific solution, repeatable solution for our landing zone to the news. Nikki, what do you think about both two approaches?
It kind of depends on the size of the company and the investment that they are prepared to make, because typically, you would have to, we discussed this before. What choices you need to make in on our previous sessions. What choices you're going to make in terms of the infrastructure, the investment in the kind of human capital, starting things up. For us, the goal, the biggest goal is to first come up with your KPIs and figure out what value you're going to extract. What is the goal for this project and for the rollout? Because if you don't do it, you may end up spending a lot of money without a lot of clear value. And for me, what I can see in the field, the integrations is what I'm kind of the number one areas, because people tend to gravitate to the interfaces they're familiar with. Like they want to use AI directly from the ServiceNow interface. They want to use it from their Outlook. They want to use it into stuff that's familiar to them, because they going into another place, copying information back and forth, like we do a lot with ChatGPT and the other tools. That's hard for them to complete. So the teams that are involved in kind of the implementations, I think, should focus on the integration and abstract AI as much as possible, bringing the AI models directly into the apps. And that's why we have this notion now. We're getting away from models as kind of the focus area. Maybe for us is the expertise, and that's what we are doing. But for the general implementations and for the leadership, they want to focus on how do we bring this to people so they can use it more. That's one of the biggest issues. And the integration, the integration strategies, and thankfully a lot of the tools and models and the way we integrate with these are compatible. We create a gateway that will be providing this capacity back to these applications. They talk through common interfaces and common kind of languages, quote unquote, minus AWS, because they want to do their own thing.
I think this will change.
Yeah,
for sure.
But and from what I can tell, from start to finish, it's much easier. People just contact us, say, we have this idea, we don't want to do this double work that we're currently doing. I've created a couple of lines of code. Can you give me access to the model so we can prove this point? And from there until the production, it's kind of easy to get to. It can be just a couple of hours to a couple of weeks, and you end up in a place where you don't care about the models. Yeah, you care about them in a sense, but you focus more on the actual goal and how the application is now empowered by using AI. And I've seen this many times already in the past year or so. ServiceNow and Salesforce and Workday and big gigantic platforms, SaaS services that can do much more, since we brought models closer to them. And like I said, we discussed this before. I mean, we as you know, we teach business AI to people, and we talk about the most appropriate ways to get models in here. So it's no different. You know, we already have some standards like OpenAI API, and you know, we are proponents of kind of the Azure infrastructure as well, and but others, you know, we try to be agnostic. And you build out your infrastructure, you provide kind of the landing zone, you give this capacity to people, and just have them run with it. And you make sure your goal as a CUE maybe, or as an organization who governs the use of models, your focus should be on providing the most capable models for the job, and focus on cost. So that's an ongoing thing. That's always something is happening.
Yeah, that's. I think we'll do as I said, separation on the governance and the importance of having well governed in terms of security, cost efficiency.
Yeah.
But indeed, I think you explained it very well about the in this adopt phase how important is the integration, and
Yeah.
with the tools how important is. We discussed it even in the updates. If you make this entire let's say process easier to consume from the end user, you can expect more they to consume it more. And this was of course not just this vast phase,
Yeah.
one of the vast phases. It was starting earlier when you formed the AI COE people to when they start you know, evangelize, if we can say, what the tools can do. Remember, in the past there were even some titles
Yeah.
calling that. But yeah, so important thing to consider, however, when we're talking to adopt, but importantly scaling this thing, because what we see as very often mistake is that people are doing these prototypes. Actually, these tools which we mentioned about AI Foundry and, for example, Google AI Studio, they're very good for prototyping. But when time came for going to production and to have, you know, really scalable infrastructure, we very often discuss with Nikki about the hidden caveats, in terms of quotas, of the availability of the models, about choosing the right cloud services in order to cover our use cases, and really maybe to what to start is building our infrastructure, our architecture based on what we have available at the moment, and to be able to forecast. For example, when these new models pop up, we discuss it's very important to have close conversation with cloud vendors, because they know better than you where most probably the new models will be available, because they know where they will put the new investment in these huge data centers, which happen on weekly basis. But maybe you can share a few words about some of the let's say patterns that you saw in the large scale.
Yeah, sure. So we have at present, because things are, you know, very dynamic. What we have explained and discussed last year is not the issues had kind of shifted, because last year we were trying to get people involved, and capacity and scaling was not that big of a problem. Even the cloud vendors were not prepared because they didn't see the demand. Right now, the demand is skyrocketing. Remember one of the slides we had from Ignite, how much Azure OpenAI has just kind of moved from August.
Victim of your own success.
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. And I think one of the issues that, you know, people like me and others are battling is, how do you cope with the demand of the business right now? Because we have much more people that are interested in AI in general, in generative AI. They are more informed about the current models and the current capabilities, because news spread around much quickly now.
Yeah.
And what you have now is, okay, you build out your infrastructure, you try to scale it, you work with models that are kind of generally available and they've been, you know, production ready. So you try and scale this and provide this. But people right now, when a new model comes out, there's a new announcement. On the second day, you get a question, when is this coming? And this is this is one of the things that administrators and architects are trying to figure out is how do we get these new models as scalable as soon as possible for others, because
To plug in.
because it's even a competitive advantage. Sometimes the newer models can provide the edge, the extra 5% that people are looking for.
And it can actually open this extra 5% can open the totally new dimensions, if we can say it that way. Just to add to this, I think it's very so talking more about Microsoft, but we are very happy that in the latest releases, if we can say, Microsoft is working very close with OpenAI, and to be honest, they got the new models even on the same days. Sometimes, of course, it takes some time to get it.
Now,
you got the announcement at least.
Full disclosure: when they announced it's available in Azure, let's say, it's available in Foundry, but it's not available across multiple regions. And where you want to scale, this takes usually a month to complete. So, and it's understandable, but because Microsoft and OpenAI, they work together, but they they just roll out models, and this is not prepared so much in advance. They're not able to plan that far ahead. But as far as what advices and patterns that I can mention is use a gateway first and foremost. Concentrate your capacity into different regions. All of the cloud vendors, if we're focusing on the cloud, because we know we try to be agnostic and we want to talk about hybrid infrastructure and on-premise, but the reality is most of the organizations have not spent the money to build out capacities when it was cheaper to run.
This is more often for large organization because
and if we focus on that grander scale, they prefer to use cloud because they can guarantee to an extent the security and privacy. Well, while there's a lot of talks about how private really is, but if we disregard this for a second, when scaling, you need to build out your landing zone design, following the best practices, building a gateway or multiple gateways, making sure they're highly available across the world, because now generative AI is not a US only request. It can come from China, Australia, France, wherever. And you need to be able to guarantee these results. Also, latency is a huge factor. That's why you need to think about this as well. So building out a scalable infrastructure, and there's plenty of documentation on how to do this for each of the vendors, how to achieve this. It's not cheap. This will cost you money to guarantee the service. But I guess for the reason why you're bringing in models is to make some monetary impact to the organization. So this would usually be offset by the impact. I mean, you will be able to get some of that money back depending on what the project is. And from my perspective, right now the services are very stable compared to last year. If we focus on Azure OpenAI, GPT-4o, even not in a sort of a prepaid or they call it PTUs, kind of the pay-as-you-go model is still generally very stable. It provides good performance ratio.
Less errors than last year.
They provide much more regions and availability. GCP is sort of like this. AWS has a very particular way of providing model access. So, their advice is a bit different, but you can still accomplish it. So I suggest start with kind of the general landing zone design for AI, generative AI. There's a lot of documentation, but it usually involves kind of the best practices that we've seen in the past. Internal communication between endpoints, having kind of the best authentication mechanisms from a security perspective.
It's as Nikki said, there is some foundations that can fit the majority of the organization's requirements, but you still have to choose for your specific I would say even organizational structure type of how you're doing business. Which kind of model would be more suitable for you? Shall it be like aggregating everything in one, as Nikki said, some API gateway management or whatever, or doing this repetitive
I want to share
deployment?
something about this because I
Sure.
don't people realize that although this is infrastructure and technically you can hire an Azure architect or a system architect to create this infrastructure for you, the design. I think generally for now it's required for these types of staff that will do this for the organization to have a much deeper understanding of how AI actually works, because you're running into issues that are not apparent on the infrastructure level.
Uh-huh.
And even the best practices, you still, and I think over time, our job as me and Nikki, coming from that background for so many years, our job is morphing into something different when it comes to, thinking about models and understanding. So having an understanding about how the token process works, what are the transformer models, how this affects applications. We are seeing problems on a different level that you have to keep in mind when you're creating your design. If this makes sense, hopefully I'm explaining it.
I think you said it very well, and something important came to my mind is here the good relationship with the cloud vendors, because we're constantly in these recent years for I think almost every single let's say large enterprise which have some contracts with let's say with the cloud vendor, we're in close communication with the product teams about the tools, because as Nikki said, there's best practices, advices, but when you start building the stuff by yourself, when you especially when you're preparing the landing zone and this model of scaling, you actually start hitting some hidden stones, which are let's say some service do not support some specific feature, which have huge impact in your security, which may have huge impact in your cost. Like for example, let's say in the past the error rate of the pay-as-you-go services was much higher than comparing to then, which force you, if you want to have reliable application, to pay something in the device which you may not need it, or you may not be able to use it. You pay just to have reliable solution. So these small things actually, if not evaluated, they pay how to say, they may have huge impact in the overall results of your of your Gen AI adoption.
It's just that this role, we are seeing morphing of different professions now into when you're thinking about these problems, because it's much more complex. It goes beyond the infrastructure. It kind of, because of the whole integration with integration is not the right word. The way we're thinking about models is most people are thinking about it as not machines, but something that has an understanding of what you're saying. So that therefore, the issues that you may see are very complex in solving compared to what we had in the past. I mean, it's not about let me scale these virtual machines so they're able to accommodate more requests, or let me do the stuff that was valid like 15 years ago. This is a different arena of issues that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, you said it very well, and I think the having more and more options and all of these advancement in both how you can use these and the big investment if making the cloud vendor making sure, not only the cloud vendor, making sure that you have all the options that may fit, that will fit your specific requirements, is it's really foundational. Remember we discussed about this option that each large organization using specific subset of hardware where they can let's say distribute the entire compute of let's say on the endpoint devices. This was also something that a very small amount of organization consider at all, and they already have everything in place to just start using it. I mean, they have the configuration tools, which can manage and deploy everything. They have security endpoint tools which can govern all of this. So in this phase, in order to have appropriate adoption and the ability to scale at the organizational level, you really have to think about what kind of architecture pattern will suit most your specific organization needs. If we can put together everything together, I think we will, as I said, we will cover a lot of the governance part in the next session and some of the best practices. I think clearly, it's adopting in general the AI in your organization as fast as possible will make you competitive in the future. This is, I would say, the most foundational thing apart from being healthy. But
I have a very good observation, because thankfully we started doing this 2 years ago. We focused on providing these sort of services and just focus our energy completely on AI, on generative AI for big organizations. And I think now I'm seeing double, triple the interest from just random people. You have people from finance and HR and people who generally don't care about technology too much outside of the tools that they've been using. And now they want to experiment. They are going out and just saying, I want to do this because I saw it somewhere. And the interest in generative AI is just skyrocketing everywhere.
I think for this adoption and scaling phase, in the past, in the cloud adoption framework, we may say that actually the COE done a great job. And here that could be the case as well, of course. But really the greatest job was done by the actual vendors providing these services. And most importantly, not Microsoft Azure or Microsoft GCP or Azure, but the vendors which provide the services to the end users. Because right now, everybody is using ChatGPT, is using DeepSeek, Chat, Quad, whatever in their day-to-day basics. And people, there is no this resistant which was in the past transformation. So it's much easy. The appetite is much bigger because people already start thinking based on how they're using these tools for their personal stuff or even work stuff. They start getting all of these.
Even people are feeling limited by sort of Gen AI CUEs that are inside of the organization because they cannot serve
demand.
Serve them in enough. The pace is not that they can cope with the demand. So people just go out. I won't wait for a corporate license, or I won't wait for this API. I'll just go buy and this directly from OpenAI.
That's something which I think we discussed in the past. One very often mistake of the organization is putting specific subset of tools and not building these policies from scratch, which are scalable policies where with fast feedbacks when, as you said, someone from finance want to implement some tools, so even if you have the list of allowed tools, to have really fast feedback to make this tool part of this list. So it should be more focused on specific capabilities or governance requirement that the specific tools need to apply for, and the organization, in order to have this large-scale adoption, they should be focused on making this adoption and this framework of approving new tools as much as smoother as possible. Again, back to this integration part, the organization should focus really on making their environment ready for easier integration with the tools that are coming. Because as Nikki said, not the best adoption happen on the familiar interfaces, but by the users. So instead of developing the hot water by yourself, it would be better. It would be much better to have this.
I like the comment with the hot water. Hopefully, foreigners understand it, but
we didn't touch much about the importance of prompt engineering. I think this is, and in general, this kind of, let's say, new field coming on. But I think we can discuss this in more details in the next session, where we go to some kind of recap, and we'll cover the governance part, which in general is big. We'll decided we may split it into sessions.
Right.
But yeah,
There's so much to say. I mean, it's for us. It's we. I don't know if it's visible or not, but we enjoy sharing this information because I think we get our information from kind of people like us who are willing to share as well. It's just hopefully this is useful to you. I mean, over the years, this will become more valid, I feel. And we like that we meet more and more people on training courses and and on these events when we meet in person, that more and more people are interested, especially young people, right? You see how many more more young people are investing time. They're seeing where this is going. So yeah, let us know if you need something. We'll continue to doing these events as much as we can kind of get out of our free time and do them, because it's not easy to be honest, but hopefully it's informative.
Yep. Thank you everyone, and most probably